And then at some point, I read the Bitcoin Standard by Safedin Amos.
Mhm.
So yeah, I read his book, and that's what the whole thing began. Basically, in 2019, I started, like yourself, trying to educate myself about other countries and everything that's happening around the world. And because of that, I start seeing resemblance to what's happening in Lebanon back then. The high interest accounts, what the banks are doing, how they're doing it, how they're not incentivizing people to be productive because simply you just put your bank in the bank and that's it. And I saw that. And I got terrified. I went in a panic, full panic mode, like obsessed panic and paranoid person. I told all my family, everyone, guys, Lebanon is gonna collapse. It's gonna hit, the shit is gonna hit the fan. Nah, you crazy. So what I did, actually, I took out all my money, all my savings that were in Lebanese lira, converted to dollar, and I actually managed to pull it all out and put it in Bitcoin. Honestly, I went crazy.
The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. You, the people, have the power. The power to create machines. The power to create happiness. Happiness, 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 You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. To make this life a wonderful adventure.
Welcome to One Love Bitcoin. This is Dread, and today we're heading over to Lebanon, what used to be called the Swiss of the Middle East, but no longer today, as they have a collapsed economy, a hyperinflated currency, and power and gas shortages almost every day. We talked to Marco, who still lives in Beirut, and we talked to him about living in Beirut under a hyperinflated currency, the hyperinflated lira, and we talked to him about how he recognized the telltale signs of Lebanon's financial collapse after reading the Bitcoin Standard. This one was a rude awakening for me. It made me realize that many places in the world are much worse off than we think. And the more people I interview, the more I realize that we're really all in this together. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I hope you find it informative. One love.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very...
Welcome to One Love Bitcoin, brethren. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time because, ever since we've been in Guy Swan's chat room, Satoshi's audio nuts or whatever he calls it now, I've been getting a lot of information about Lebanon. And I just did some research myself, just Wikipedia, to find out exactly where Lebanon is, the rich history of the country, all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious as to, I guess, how it ended up being such a conflict-driven state, and also what your experience is there, because you're there now, right? You're living in Lebanon. Is that correct?
Yeah, I live in Lebanon. That's correct.
And have you lived there all your life, or is it like a
Well,
you've been
actually,
expat-
the thing is, I'm half Polish and half Lebanese. So I spent like half of my life in Poland. That's where I was raised and was born. Actually, in 1998, I believe we moved to Lebanon. And basically, since then, more or less, I've been in Lebanon, working, married, and hopefully soon to have a baby.
Nice, congratulations, Mazel Tov. I don't know
Thank
everything they
you.
say.
I mean, I hope it works out. We've been married for 7 years, so let's hope it works this time.
Well,
We'll
some
have a
people
small
get the
Bitcoiner.
7-year itch. You got the 7-year baby.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Exactly.
man.
So
That's really good news.
thanks, man. I'm really glad to be on the show, by the way. I noticed that you just started up like recently, so best of luck to you as well.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I just had to do it. I guess it's really a part of my own passion to learn more and know about the world because I really feel like I don't know a lot. Like coming from Jamaica, a small island, you learn about Jamaica and you might learn about some of the Western cultures as well and the US because we're pretty much pegged to the US in many different ways, but you don't learn about all the other places around the world and world history in general and things that are not taught in school. So this is my way of really giving myself a world education and also, getting more intimate with the Bitcoin stories that are happening around the world as well. So I'm really
Mhm.
excited to hear about your Bitcoin story. How it began for you. How it came to you in Lebanon, and then how it's impacting Lebanon in general. But yeah, first tell the people that are listening from Lebanon, where you're from, what you're about.
So yeah, so believe it or not, I'm a pharmacist actually as my major and by degree. And currently I'm working in a multinational company in pharmaceuticals. So I'm in the pharma in the sales and marketing department. So basically, I come from different backgrounds, if you notice right now. And as I said earlier before, in 1998, I moved to Lebanon with my family because my dad is Lebanese, my mom is Polish. And since then, I've been like moving to Lebanon and to other places. I lived in Jordan for some time, 4 years and 5 years. I took my degree there. So my life is kind of, diversified when we used to live here and there. Now, the Lebanon part, Lebanon, honestly, I'll tell you something. It's a great country. I love it. I mean, been beautiful country, really diversified. You have different kind of religions, different kind of people, ethnicities. All kind of people are living in Lebanon. And like, they used to call it the Swiss of the Middle East because it
I
has
saw
one of the
that.
best banking systems or systems in the Middle East. Now we know why after 20 some years. But basically, they have the secrecy law. So any money that comes to Lebanon, it's like Switzerland. You don't know about it, and it's all about secrecy. And the thing is, like, as a Lebanese, we were raised that the Lebanese lira has always been pegged or backed by the gold, actually. So believe it or not, even like recently, before the 2019 crisis, everyone thought that Lebanese lira is backed by gold, not by dollar. That's very important. So we really have high confidence in the system, high confidence in the Lebanese lira, and it was insane. It was a dream to be here. Literally, the beach is nice. The mountains are great. You can go skiing. You can go to swim like 2 hours later. It's so close from each other. Literally, it was a
That's
heaven.
amazing. At least it was though, because I mean, all these natural resources are still there, right? You can go and you can enjoy yourself. But what's changed recently?
Yeah, you see, Lebanon has always been service oriented country. So what changed recently is that we went in a huge debts that we didn't know about as a citizens, of course. The country was only based and running on diaspora's money and investors' money. And back in 2019, 95, I believe, one of the prime ministers, he fixed the peg on 1,500 because we already had hyperinflation from 1980s. Imagine 1980, actually $1 was worth around 2 Lebanese pounds. Then it shot up to 3,000. That's 1,500 increase by 1995. And the prime minister, what he did, he basically asked, for debt and gave them high interest accounts, like
From
15 to 20 to 30% from outside, from like Gulf states,
IMF,
from states, from everywhere around.
from the
IMF,
IMF
no, there
or
was no
World
IMF.
Bank or okay.
No, it was IMF. It was just pure investors' money. So our economy in 1995 was bootstrapped by Prime Minister Hariri back then. And he got all this money inside Lebanon. So Lebanon started booming after the war. It was crazy. It was, as I said before, everything was being rebuilt, everything was pretty, and we lived amazing lives. Then I think 2008, there was a crisis in America, right? The housing bubble.
Yep.
Believe it or not, because Lebanon was so excluded from the financial system outside the world, we were not impacted by it. On the contrary, it was something very good for us. All the money that was actually in America or from diaspora, they were thrown back to Lebanon.
Safe haven. Yeah.
Since we had no crash. So what happened is that a house in Lebanon that used to cost, let's say, $20,000, now all of a sudden it's 60,000. And a few years later, it's 80,000. And now it's 100,000 because all the money is coming in and pouring in and pouring in. And again, all the banks went into high interest accounts. So you could put your money inside the bank and get 10 to 15% interest. And that's amazing. Me, myself, back in back in 2016 and 17 in period of the crisis, my aim in life, which is like majority of the Lebanese people, is to save up 100 $200,000 and just put it in bank and live off the interest, because it gives you around $1,000 $2,000, which is pretty much fine, right? It's amazing money. It's good money.
Yeah.
Especially since in Lebanon, like the water is really cheap. Used to be cheap, at least when we had it. We pay like $100 a year. That's nothing, really. The electricity was more or less relatively fine, $50 to $60 a month. When your salary is like 1,000, 1,500, that's a life. That's a great life, you know. And the rentals weren't that bad, and the cars were fancy. So, and there were plenty of free loans, basically, just take loans, and that's how we lived in a bubble.
Right, you guys sound like you're living in a heavenly bubble right now with all that kind of stuff. Like everything's cheap. You get high salaries, high interest rates on bank accounts and savings accounts. Yeah, that sounds like utopia.
Exactly. I think, by the way, if you follow, I probably spoke to guys from Venezuela, or you will notice there's a pattern. In the countries like Lebanon or Venezuela or even the Salvador, all those countries used to have like amazing high standard life. All of a sudden, it just all comes collapsing, crashing. It disappears. All of that just goes 20 years in reverse.
And that's because
like it never happened before.
The high standard of life you're living that's based on a blow off top of unsustainable debt. Is that why? Exactly.
Basically, as we always know, as a Bitcoiners, with the fiat system, you spend from your future. So whatever you spend today, you will have to pay it back later on. And the price, you have to always pay the price. And this is the price you're paying. For 20, 25 years of living in luxury and posh life, fancy cars, living in the standards, flying to Paris, going everywhere, now it's just biting our asses, because for next 20, 30 years, it's going to be the total opposite of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like the pictures that I saw more recently in Lebanon were like of literal banks, like buildings of banks burning and people looting them and destroying them. How did it get bad enough for people to want to riot in the streets? Like, what was the trigger, for the public to get to that point?
Now, the popular opinion is the trigger from the WhatsApp tax. In 2019, October 17th, I believe, the government decided to tax WhatsApp. WhatsApp, the application, chatting application, it's popular. So they decided to tax people on that chatting application or whatever they're paying. And people revolted. Now, I strongly believe it was just a trigger, because anything could have triggered that situation.
Right.
And then all the banks shut down, everything was shut down, and then the bank run happened. So once that happened, our Lebanese lira started to collapse. It was already cracking before a few months earlier, and it just went full-blown collapse. It just kept jumping 50, 60, 70% till we reached today of 93.5, I think, devaluation of purchasing power. So if you had, let's say, 1,000 salary before, now it's basically worth $70.
17?
70. 70.
From 1,000 to 70. That's what your salary is.
Yep.
So wait, because
in 18 months.
It was pegged to like $1 to 1,500 lira, right?
Correct.
Like way back. And but what is it now? Like now that all this has happened?
Now it's 22,000 Lebanese lira per each $1.
22,000. Wow.
Yeah, in just 18 months.
And people are still getting the same salary they were getting 18 months ago.
Majority of the people with the military, the police, the government employees, all of those people, teachers, professors, most of the majority of the people are getting the same salaries, maybe slight adjustment, but no matter how much you adjust, 10%, it still will not beat 93 or 94% of devaluation.
Wow. How
insane.
So, I guess my question would be then, because riots, you would need like those same people, the police, the firefighters, etc., to push back riots or to stop them from happening. How are those people justifying getting paid to stop riots, like police and army?
I think it has to do with psychology. I'll tell you what kind of psychology. I think it's like a type of Stockholm syndrome, which you're captive and you love your captive and you just stay in it because you don't want to touch it or ruin it more, not to get in the worst position. Or as a shitcoiner who bought at the top of 99% and he keeps losing and he never sells it. So you just clutch and you hug into those problems and you just don't want to leave, believing in your opium that something's going to get better. So I think this is the kind of disbelief. And This is the reason they're still there. They're still protecting. They're still with the government, and it's not going to change that easily because they have this hope that everything's going to be better. Those promises, empty promises.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense, especially if you've lived decades of lavish lifestyles and thinking that it's never going to end. You know that I guess you could still think that okay, well maybe this is a speed bump along the road, and they'll fix it
Exactly.
somehow with some magic governmental policy change that'll make it all better. But it's just at some point the disillusionment has to happen, right? At some point the people are going to be realize that okay, this is the new normal. The new normal is that the
Mhm.
currency is collapsed, it is failed, and we have to find a new way to move forward economically. Do you feel
Correct.
like because of this happening in Lebanon, there's been more of a push for awareness and adoption to Bitcoin? Or do you think that they're still kind of in the shock and awe phase? They're kind of like, oh, everything's failing. Let's try to fix it, but no one's really, the public sentiment isn't shifting towards a global currency yet, or a free money yet.
Let me just give you some context. The thing is, majority of people, the elder people, like let's say 50s and 60s. Okay, I'm 30s by the way, so around 40, 60s, let's say. So those people who already seen the crisis in 1980 and 2000 and to 90s, basically, when they had already collapse of the Lebanese lira, right?
Mm.
The thing is, back then, their money and their savings were not actually. Why? Because the dollars at the banks, they were there. So if you had your money in Lebanese lira, yes, you were devalued, you lost your money, you were fine. Because you probably had 50 or 40% of your savings in dollar, or someone in your family. So you actually weren't impacted by that problem that happened in the 80s, in the 90s, early 90s.
Okay.
And the food shortages weren't there because we had the dollar again. And so there was not an issue. We're not an importing country. By the way, we're not exporting country. 90% of our consumption is from imports. Around in the latest estimates was that in 2017 or 18, we imported around $21 billion worth of imports, and we exported only 3 billion. So we lived all on imports.
Wow.
That being said, yeah, exactly.
Is that because you guys were forced to open your borders to trade that people can undercut the producers of the country? Like, I don't know if there's agriculture there or any kind of other products that
we don't have agriculture.
Okay.
We don't have agriculture because we were incentivized to do that. Our Lebanese lira was so strong, so powerful that you couldn't undercut anyone. It was just easier for you to put it in the banks and wait for that 10 to 15% interest profits.
Wow. Financialized the entire country.
Exactly. So it was all based on the banking sector. There was no production. We really don't have any factories here, like rarely any kind of factories. We import all kind of stuff from outside. So that being said, in 1980s, we had the dollars. There was an issue with the collapse of the currency. It was fine because, as I said, we had the dollars. It wasn't an issue. But right now, no matter how much money you have in your account, which is dollars represented, they're gone. Now, they don't say it's gone, but it's just a number on a ledger in your application, on your phone, on your bank. Because even if you have, let's say, $100,000, you can't get it out. You might get it out in Lebanese lira, but at the official rate, which is 1,500 lira, therefore devaluating 93%.
Oh my God, they still have the rate and the bank at 1,500 to 1.
Exactly. And believe it or not, we actually have 3 or 4 even banking rates, which is the official 1,500. It might be a little bit confusing. And there's a new introduced rate, which is 3,900, which allows you to withdraw up to $1,000 a month. And there's another sarrafa, what's called the rate, which is now 12,000 or maybe 15,000 lira. And there's the black market, which is actually the free market, which is the 22,000 Lebanese lira. We have the 4 different exchange rates right now. It's insane.
It's such a wide.
It's very confusing. Yeah.
It's very confusing. So okay. So if the average person now in Lebanon wants to
22,
they want to get their money, right? They have their US dollars in the bank and they want to get their money. How can they get it? What's the best way to do it without losing 93% of their value?
There's no best way. You will lose it. It's impossible. It depends on the money, how much you have. Let's say if you have $1,000, you might be able to withdraw it with 70% loss at the 3,900 rate.
Right.
But if you have like $50,000, it would probably take you 20 years to withdraw it at that rate. But that rate, the valuation keep just going and you lose it anyway. So there's no way to bypass it. Now, the thing is about the banks, what they're doing is that they're capturing their customers, or like me, by promising them if you freeze your money at certain rate or certain time, like 5 years, you'll get it back. But it's not going to happen. What they're doing actually is to try to freeze their accounts so the people will not try to take out any kind of Lebanese lira, because dollar is a no-go, of course, because they don't have to give it into the market, because the more lira in the market we have, the higher inflation is going to be.
Right.
So they're trying their best to lock down the accounts, to not allow anyone to withdraw at any kind of rate, even if it's a 70% loss.
Yeah, trying to have people, force people to save it in the bank and just accept the debasement as it happens, so that the bank can recover.
Oh, give them promises that it's not going to happen,
right?
Which we know otherwise.
But these are banks, though, right? So can you transfer, like if you have a U.S. account in the bank, in the Lebanese bank, and somebody else has another U.S. account, can you transfer money from one account to another?
From different banks? No, it's not going to be possible, because currently they're blocking that option. You're not allowed to withdraw and pass it to other bank, because what happened is that basically the other bank will not accept it anymore, because they don't want this fake dollars anymore at the ledgers. So the first bank will be happy to get rid of them, because they won't have to give them dollars that they told the person. But actually, the other bank will not accept it, because why should I have this liability of dollars that do not exist, even if it's a fake ledger?
Right. The people can accept that, but the second banks won't accept it.
No, they won't. The first bank will be happy about it, just getting rid of the fake dollars, because it was really easy to create. The thing is, it was really easy for Lebanon to create to print dollars. How? Let me just explain it to you. Let's say I can take a loan in Lebanese lira for equivalent of $1 million, and I go to the bank, put it in bank, convert it to dollars, and withdraw it in the dollars. And I have just created dollars, which we don't have.
That's true.
So imagine everyone is doing that, taking loans in Lebanese lira, put it in bank, converting it back to dollar, and just taking out the dollars. And you have dollars. You just created dollars. At some point, someone's going to lose those dollars, because they have to be represented somewhere. But on the ledger of the bank, you're just creating more dollars, which really don't exist in the whole system and the central bank. And that's what just basically happened. And there's people in charge, like the government. What they did is withdraw all the money over the years, the actual dollars, by doing this process. And now we're out of dollars. We have no more reserves.
So the bank is going into virtual debt for the people by giving them fake dollars, or putting fake dollars in their bank accounts. Okay. So
internally, we have around $160 billion debt internally, which is basic in the country. Which is the government owning to the depositors, which is from states, from Europe, from Lebanese who are working inside of Lebanon. So they accumulated $160 billion debt to Lebanese people, and around $30 billion debt to IMF, Caesars, and France, and all other countries around the world. Which they defaulted in March.
Nobody's bailing Lebanon out at this point in the current situation.
I mean, they've been bailed out so many times. We had Cedar 1, which is basically France giving us $8 billion. And then we had Cedar 2, another few $1 billion. And then we had a Cedar 3 and 4 and whatever. So many times we've been bailed out. This crisis should have happened in 2015 and 2016. But it was just prolonged by bailouts and financial engineering and this crazy magic they were doing at central banks.
This is amazing.
Insane. I know. You just ask yourself if it's basically who's accountable for those things. I mean, you can't track them. You can't know what they're doing, because it's all hidden. It's in the banks. The government is doing whatever they want. They have the control of the Lebanese lira or whatever fiat currency you have, and they can do whatever they want. You just wake up someday and poof, your money is gone.
So tell me how you survived then, because obviously you're still doing okay. You're not in the streets burning banks right now. So how have you been making it out over there?
Okay, so about myself a little bit. Okay, so I joined the crypto world in 2017. I used to be like one of the biggest shitcoiners ever. I think this is the journey most of the people go through. I joined in 2017 at the very, very top. I think I bought the top. It was 19 point something. I don't think anyone that I know did that before me. I bought the top. And I, diversified my portfolio into different, beautiful, colorful shit coins. It was
Oh
really
yeah.
fun. And of course, some of them made a lot of money, but I never sold because, I was a newbie, total newbie. I never did. I got wrecked totally, frankly.
Yeah.
But throughout 2019, 2019, I kept decreasing this portfolio and just stuck to few coins, the top coins. And then at some point, I read the Bitcoin Standard by Safedin Amos,
Hmm.
and that's where my
He's from
rabbit hole.
Lebanon too, right?
Yeah, he's Palestinian actually, but he lived
Palestinian.
in Lebanon and he used to teach in Lebanon. I think he's now in Australia, I believe. But
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, I read his book, and that's what the whole thing began. Basically, in 2019, I started, like yourself, trying to educate myself about other countries and everything that's happening around the world. And because of that, I start seeing resemblance to what's happening in Lebanon back then. The high interest accounts, what the banks are doing, how they're doing it, how they're not incentivizing people to be productive because simply you just put your bank in the bank and that's it. And I saw that. And I got terrified. I went into panic, full panic mode, like obsessed panic and paranoid person. I told all my family, everyone, guys, Lebanon is gonna collapse. It's gonna hit, the shit is gonna hit the fan. Nah, you're crazy. So what I did, actually, I took out all my money, all my savings that were in Lebanese lira, converted to dollar, and I actually managed to pull it all out and put it in Bitcoin. Honestly, I went crazy.
So this faucet is going to be for Lebanon. So if you haven't figured out by now, you can go to lebanon.onelovebitcoin.com and you can get the faucet, get those free sats. Jamaicans, depending on you to get them. In the US, you can just buy from Swan Bitcoin. Go to swanbitcoin.com/Rastafari. You can get $10 free. All right, let's get back to the show.
Oh man, that is a story.
And
It's like you saw it coming.
And I went paranoid a little bit, but I was lucky on that time. I seriously was lucky. The last withdrawal I was able to do was October 14th of 2019 because they already had some capital control, not official ones. And the whole revolution started on October 17th, which is basically 3 days after my last withdrawal.
When everything got shut down.
When
Well,
we
temporarily
went for
anyway.
full lockdown,
Yeah.
exactly, and the bank run happened and everything. So that's when the perfect storm just began.
Holy shit, man. You
Yeah.
like almost literally escaped with your financial life by a thread. And
Yeah,
wow,
and
that's
I'll be very, very transparent. It's not that I made money or I have money. I'm fine. I really wasn't impacted by a whole situation because since then, basically, Bitcoin did 2-3x. So
yeah.
I'm not a person who is really wealthy or whatever. I'm just good. The comfort of Bitcoin that's giving me right now, the security, financial security, that at any moment I can just leave and start somewhere else. Doesn't mean I can go on retirement, but I can just boot up my life anywhere else I can. So I decided actually to start helping out people, and that's where I
Yeah.
launched my initiative, Bitcoin du Liban.
Yeah, the first Bitcoin educational portal in Lebanon. I want to talk about that in a
I,
second, but it's just it's just crazy to think that you were able to, and it's like you said, it's not about investing in something risky and then getting rich off of it. It's literally finding a way to save the life that you built, save the value of everything that you've
exactly.
been working for in your profession, through schooling, through working professionally as a pharmacist, all the stuff you've built. You foresaw the chance of it all just going to zero, or like you've seen in reality now, losing 93% of it, and you were able to not lose 93% of it, and a little cherry on top, a little icing on the cake was the 2-3x the
Yeah,
price of
that.
Bitcoin.
But
But yeah,
listen. This is the basically my how I thought about it. If this really happens, right, my
mm,
money is going to be with me. Let's say cash dollars.
yeah,
If I even have $20,000, $30,000 at home, that's really a lot of money in a crisis to have around lying around.
it
So
is.
where should I save it? Where should I store it? I went with the Bitcoin because I started to believe and have high conviction in Bitcoin. So I just, just fuck it and just go all in. Whatever happens, happens. Worst case scenario, I'll just lose it all. It's fine. It's still better than being independent than depend on the banks.
Yeah, and as you can tell, you'd have lost it all anyway if you depended on the banks. How many other
Exactly.
people in Lebanon do you feel like have the same conviction, or not even the same conviction, but at least the same some level of awareness in terms of how Bitcoin can help them escape these kind of capital controls and debasement?
Only few. I'll be very frank, because one of the reasons I started Bitcoin de Liban is because I saw the lack of education and kind of material that allows people to understand Bitcoin faster. I spent, as I said, since the late 2017 to 2019 trying to discover what is Bitcoin, what is crypto, by the way, which turned out to be a scam. But I was in many Lebanese groups, like crypto groups, Bitcoin groups, or similar. Most of them, they were all concentrated on trading, shitcoinery, and this is going to pump, and you should go here, and you should go there. I mean, those people are really nice, but none of them really gave, like, listen, Marco, just take this, start reading, listen to me. I know you're going to probably fall in the shitcoin hole, rabbit hole, whatever. You're going to get burned, but you have to read those things. No one really did that. So the whole aim of Bitcoin de Liban was to at least give an opportunity for anyone to have a baseline. I mean, I know everyone will trade. I'm pretty much sure everyone will dip into shitcoins. This is the standard thing. It has to happen. But I'd rather have someone try dipping a little bit instead of going all in into some kind of, I don't know, Ethereum or XRP, because this is the future and because it's some kind of smart bullshit contract. I don't know. No, I want you to have background. So I'm trying to build a safe net for you just to drop in, to understand, and to feed you the information that you should start with, which is basically the history of money, not the Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, you're kind of taking all the lessons from places like the Bitcoin Standard, and the lessons you've learned personally from Bitcoin and from your own life, and kind of put it in this portal for everyone to kind of have a starting point.
Exactly.
Right? So they're not just wandering around aimlessly or in the dark like a lot of us were back in 2016, 2017.
That's the whole thing. I mean, we do webinars, seminars, presentations. I do one-on-one meetings if someone wants. People used to call me at night, as they still do. Like, what should I do? Like, I don't know what you should do. I think you should read a book. That's the best thing to do.
Do some learning, DYOR.
Do some learning. I mean, come on, you spent 4 or 5 years in a school and a college trying to figure it out. Just give it 2 hours of a book. I mean, fine, I'll send you a video, but it's 1 hour. Fine, it's 1 hour, just waste it. You're probably wasting more time on Netflix anyway. Just give it a go.
Yeah, probably wasting too much cash on Netflix too. You could be stacking sats instead.
Exactly.
I see something on the side about quick exchange though, that had to do with, I guess, being able to quickly get Bitcoin. And you're asking people to use Monero as a temporary bridge.
Okay. Oh, this one. Yeah. I'll tell you what's this about. Basically, if you know it, like Binance Exchange, it takes around $18, which is 0.0057 or 57,000 satoshis, which is equivalent to $18, I believe. It's pretty much expensive right now. If your salary is now $50, $60. And everyone in P2P in Lebanon, they're using Binance. To kind of withdraw that money and to be safe, not to be on exchange, on a Binance, you have to pay that fee. So I found this website, SideShift. They're really awesome. I integrated into my website for people to quickly withdraw it. You can use any shitcoin, if it's Monero or Litecoin or whatever you want. The whole idea is to convert the amount you have, withdraw it from Binance. It's really cheap using the shitcoins you choose. And SideShift is going to convert it automatically to Bitcoin and send it to your wallet. Basically, it might cost you $3 or $4 if the fees of the network are relatively low. So it's a win-win situation. That's maybe the only use case I ever found for a shitcoin.
Okay, so it's an exit ramp off of Binance, and the exit ramp is cheaper using a shitcoin. Understood.
Exactly.
Is there any more Bitcoin-only P2P services that people in Lebanon have access to? Like, do they have access to any of the European non-KYC ones like Relay or HODL? Or is it really restricted down there because of the banking restrictions?
Local Bitcoins do not allow Lebanese. They already banned us, I think, 2-3 years ago. So we don't have access to that. HODL, at some point, they were nice enough to actually collaborate with Bitcoin de Liban at the beginning of the crisis. But many people are not using it. They prefer to meet to P2P, and we have one of the biggest groups in Lebanon, around 3,500 users. So it's a Telegram chat group, basically. People just join there and, drop message like want to buy, want to sell, the amounts, and the meetup location. Of course, you have to be, take care of yourself, mean in a semi-public place. Take some precautions, of course, because scams happen everywhere. But so far, this group been running for 2 years, and so far everything is fine. Maybe some small bumps on the way, but it's driving the market because actually before the existence of the group, which we created at Bitcoin du
Yeah, I was
Liban,
about to ask. You started that
people,
group, right?
yeah,
I think I remember you
yeah,
started
as
that group
well.
a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. By the way, I was kind of forced by my friends, like, listen, you should start a Bitcoin de Liban, like, a marketplace for P2P. I was like, why? I just want education. No, you should too. So anyway, the thing is that back then, they used to take like the traders and brokers up to 5 to 10% premium price. So let's say you want $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, you have to pay 10% extra over that. Because of the marketplace, because it was not manipulated, and because me myself, I don't sell, I don't trade, I just buy. So I created a safe space for everyone to communicate the values and the prices, and this drove the premium price to almost zero. Now you can buy in Lebanon at price of 1, 2, and sometimes it reaches even negative 5%. That means if you had $1,000, you actually got $1,050 of Bitcoin worth, which is awesome.
For the demand. It was just simple free market
Yeah,
demand.
exactly. Demand and supply, pure market, open market, no more manipulation. Man, I got so much
Exactly.
shit from people. I got heat from the traders. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all.
Of
I
course, they don't
raised
want to
their
hear that
profits.
a free Telegram group is killing their whole business model. That blows their minds, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So right now it's running. You said a Telegram group of over 3,500 people, and
Yeah.
do you
P2P only, no chat, nothing, just trading.
just trading? So
No
whenever
chat.
they
The
want
chat
to,
is done on the Bitcoin Delivery.
right? So whenever they want to trade now, and they meet up in person, are there specific wallets that they're using there? Are they using like Blue Wallet, or do they have their own non-custodial ones?
Well,
So
personally, I do endorse Blue Wallet. I really like these guys, what they're doing. I support them. Of course, you always have to be careful what kind of software. Even Blue Wallet, if you're downloading it, you have to be precautious because you never know what kind of update might happen in the future. So
Yep.
my advice would be to disable auto updates. But so far, they've been great, and there are many great wallets, even by Green Wallet, and you have the BRD wallet, whatever you like, as long as it's non-custodial. I guess it's fine if it's open source. But mainly in Lebanon, they're using Binance, unfortunately. Why? Because the trading between Binance, it's free. So let's say I'm going to send you $10. I don't pay any fees if it's transferred between the Binance itself. So Binance accounts to Binance accounts, it's a zero fee.
if you're sending me $10 in Bitcoin, or you're sending me like $10
In any currency, any cryptocurrency. Let's say if it's USDT, if it's Bitcoin, if it's whatever shitcoin you feel like it, it basically has zero transfer fees if you both of us are using Binance accounts.
Okay, and you can use your Lebanese bank account to connect to Binance and fund it. Is
Oh
that why?
no, we are totally disabled from banking system. I can't even recharge my Netflix. I can't use PayPal for since 2007. We are totally excluded from banking system. As I mentioned before, in 2008 crisis, the only reason we were safe and protected from the crisis was happening in the world because we were so excluded.
You guys are
In
disconnected, right?
2007, exactly, you can't buy stocks in Lebanon. You
So then
can't connect to your broker
how do you
account.
how do you fund Binance then as a Lebanese citizen? Like how
You
would you
buy to
fund your
P2P. P2P, you find someone who has money and sends you the money.
like so you
It's
give
all
them like
P2P.
literal the cash money in their hands, and they
Yeah,
send you to Binance.
yeah,
But then I still
yes.
so then I really don't see the reason why they would keep using Binance then, because Binance is not providing them any benefit if it's P2P, right? They could be using any
Yeah,
wallet,
but
that's not an
this is the
exchange.
problem. This is the problem. Most majority of people who are joining currently, let's say Bitcoin, Dulibon, and other kind of crypto groups, let's say,
Yeah.
it's just because they want to learn how to trade and make money. They don't see the value proposition of Bitcoin. They see it as a monetary system or let's say financial system on investment rather than a network. And
Yeah.
that's the differentiation I'm trying to do to everyone. Like, please don't talk about price prediction, don't talk about TAs because that's all bullshit for us. We care for the network effect, not the price effect. The price will come along, as you said earlier, it's a cherry on the top. But once
Yeah.
you understand it and have the conviction, it will follow. But currently in Lebanon, they're all focused on trading, how to make money, and unfortunately, most of them are losing money,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if
And
it's $50. Yeah.
that's what seems to happen in a economy that's hyperinflating. Like if you look all the way back to the Weimar Republic, there were rampant young day traders that were just trying to flip anything they could to make money during the fall of that
Right.
currency. And it's happening in the US right now, to be honest with you, with Robinhood, where everybody's trying to
Yeah,
like they're
exactly.
new trading bros now, right? It's the new fad. So every failing economy seems to do the same thing, and Lebanon's no different. It's just a shame
True.
that it's not a shame. It's the way it is. This is the way, as they say in the Mandalorian, where Bitcoin has to evolve. It has to mature on its own time, right? Back in the day when it was just cypherpunks, no one gave a shit about Bitcoin. They were just using it as money for digital art and at one point pizza. And then it became illicit money for drugs and porn and people who were unbanked and trying to do illicit things online. And then it evolved into now, a more legitimate currency, but still traders think of it as just a way that they can flip the financial elements that they know of to make more money, to make more virtual tokens to appear.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for that all of those things to become still nascent, and the current evolution is at the point where people realize that large multinational and global industrial organizations are using this, and countries are making it legal tender to run their economic platform upon. So once we get to that level and people start thinking it's a trading magic internet money, then maybe traders will be a thing of the past, and people will actually consider it to be real cash and not a trading instrument. But I don't know. That's me being. I'm an accelerationist. I'm looking at the end goal from the beginning. So I'm hoping that this phase doesn't last too long. You know.
Yeah, but by the way, my elevator pitch to a random person, if he's asked about Bitcoin, he wants to know about Bitcoin. It's basically like this:
Mm.
Bitcoin is to dollar what dollar is to Lebanese lira. That's it. That's my pitch. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you're done.
I like that. I like
Simple
that.
as that. Yeah.
So if you don't realize what's going to happen to the dollar, you need to look at what happened to the Lebanese lira. And if you still don't think that's going to happen, then I can't.
Exactly. Exactly, exactly. And the thing is, when people talk about Bitcoin as an investment or trading, I just ask them, listen, when you have Lebanese lira and you go to exchange house, you try to convert to dollars, are you investing? No, of course I'm not. What are you doing? I'm protecting my purchasing power. This is exactly what you're doing with Bitcoin. Exactly the same thing. So stop that crap. Stop trading because you will lose money. Fine, lose a little bit, learn, consider as a paid course for losing the money, and then learn what's Bitcoin. That's the only way to do it. No other way.
That's true. Many of us, like the majority of us, paid that tax or paid that tuition fee in terms of losing our
Exactly,
bitcoins. And
exactly.
do you think that there's a way that people would eventually? Because you said that Lebanon's a beautiful place, right? I don't know.
Mhm.
I've never been to Beirut. I'd love to go there. But do you think there's a way that it'll turn around to the point where people want to come back and live in Lebanon because the situation will change, and the I don't know whether it'll be after hyper Bitcoinization or at a certain point when there is a policy change that will allow people to feel like it's not just safer but more economical to come back in the future.
Well, the thing is, the way I see it, of course, I'm not a financial expert, neither I'm an economist. I'm just like pleb who's reading his books. That's all. The way I see it, we are just starting our economic crisis. I mean, for past 2 years, I've been saying it's only a prologue. So not even introductory into the whole situation. Because right now, as you saw my tweet earlier, uh, people are waiting 3, 4, up to 8 hours in the queue to station to fill up their gas. I spent last time 8 hours looking for gas,
Looking for
and I
it.
had to, yeah, because 4 hours looking for it, and then I was stuck at the gas station because I was kind of out of fuel, and I had to wait another 4 hours just to get my car filled. So it was 8 hours of my life trying to fill up my gas, and it was a nightmare. It was really a nightmare. So the thing is, we have to realize what's happening, and this is just the beginning. We are out of stock of everything. We have no medical supplies, running really low. Some hospitals are turning around the patient. They're like, listen, if it's not an urgent case, we can't accept you. I'm sorry, because we don't have equipment. Some hospitals don't have electricity now. They're running on the backup generators, and they can't even refill the backup generator because they don't have fuel.
Jesus.
So it's like a
Are they
vicious cycle.
are they trying to blame COVID for any of this, or are they just openly saying now, okay, yeah, we're failing the economy and our
Oh
supply
no, no,
shortages
they're
because of
actually
that?
blaming a geopolitical pressure from different countries like Iran and Hezb and America. So it's never their fault. It's not that they went broke. It's not that they mismanaged the whole and they printed money to oblivion. And it's not like they took the whole money from different countries, but no, it has to be geopolitical issues because Lebanon is so precious. That's the agenda or narrative they're trying to push. That it's not their fault; they're not accountable. It's probably your neighbors or people from outside trying to influence Lebanese economics that or choking us from the dollars. But the reality is, you're broke, man. No matter how much I love you or hate you, the reality we are broke. We can't do anything because we owe money to people.
Yeah, yeah. It's this very similar situation that Palestine is in right now. I think Alex Gladstein just wrote a really good article that I'm halfway through reading about the same way that they've been kind of strip mined in terms of the production of the country and owe so much right now that they're broke too, and they're going through the same kind of shortages and crises that Lebanon's facing. So that's not very, it's not very promising that there's a dark future
No.
ahead. Hopefully it's a short-term dark future, but how do you see like maybe long term, like after after the whole thing happens, it blows off top, and you're, I don't know if whether it's going to be that they're forced to use a default um you know regional currency, or they'll go to the dollar as a default the same way El Salvador did, was forced to use the US dollar as their currency. What do you see happening next?
I think before I wish, I mean, we can go hyper Bitcoinization from from bypassing the whole banking and the dollar, but unfortunately I really believe that first step is going to go for the dollarization at the moment. That's what's going to happen. Already hearing rumors of shops wanting to price everything in dollars because the inflation is just keep growing and they can't keep up with changing price tags. Like mechanic shops, if you want to buy some parts for the car, it's all taking pure dollars. They don't even ask for Lebanese lira anymore. Some other shops already. So these things are changing, and most likely we're going to be dollarized. If you look at our banking system, we are already dollarized, but we have this fake Lebanese lira that looks nice and promising, but it's not. And the thing is, it will be very difficult for our country or the government to change to dollars because that would mean they would lose total control of the fiat current system. Totally. Because how could they benefit and be corrupted? By printing the money and just giving it away, right? That's how it works. That's how
Yep.
corruption works mainly. If they don't have that tool, they will not be able to do that. So once we hit that brick or that wall and we start going into Bitcoin dollarization, I think we could overlap to some extent with Bitcoinization and maybe using a digital dollar for us at some point of our lives. Like El
Yeah.
Salvador, they had to wait 20 years to be Bitcoinized, let's say. They
Yeah.
had to live 20 years with a non-sovereign currency like a dollar just
Yep.
to reach that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as
And
we
you,
have lira, Lebanese lira, no, this is gonna happen.
that, yeah, I could see that being the steps that need to be taken. And even in El Salvador, there's still, even with them being dollarized and being prime for Bitcoinization, there's still, to your point, that disillusionment, that feeling that, oh no, we still don't want that because somehow El Salvador still has control over their economy, when they're really just taking dollars from the US at that point. So I can see how, and it's just like Jamaica too, where we have the Jamaican dollar, but a lot of places, if you go to buy food at a fancy restaurant, you want to pay your rent in a nice neighborhood, you're being priced in US dollars, and you're expected to be pay them in US dollars, even though most Jamaicans get paid in Jamaican dollars, in Jamaican currency. So that the whole double standard I'm seeing across the board in almost every country that I'm talking to,
It's
and
like a
it's because
playbook.
it is. It's like a playbook. And I wish I feel like at some point I'm gonna be able to see all the points lined up and say, all right, look, these 17 countries are doing exactly this playbook. And this is what the result is. We should hyper Bitcoinize all of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
find a
yeah.
way to,
And
to,
it's
to
gonna
simulate it.
happen. It's gonna happen eventually, but it's just a matter of time. But you're accelerist, right? You said you want it to happen now. I don't think it's gonna happen now, but maybe 5 to 10 years from now, things gonna change drastically. I mean, look at the phone. In 2006 or 2007, the iPhone came out. A few years later, everyone had a touch screen. So as you know, they say gradually, then suddenly, like Nick Cartman says,
Yes, it
Nick
is so
Carter. Yeah.
true. Like I was just doing some research on that too. The
Or was
the
it Peter?
mobile
Yeah.
phone revolution, it happened all across the world, but in Jamaica specifically, like gradually then suddenly happened all in like 1 year. Like we went from 10% adoption of cell phone usage to like 95% adoption in 1 year, because Jamaicans realized that this is something that that changed everybody's life. Like you could be on the street and a man is begging you for money or selling you goods or services or fruit on the side of the road, and he has a cell phone, he has a smartphone in his hand, because the
Yeah.
Jamaican the Jamaican people really are it's not just Jamaican people. I think it's most third world countries or most people in need. They adopt technology a lot quicker. So when people in the US talk about, oh, the adoption is not going to happen that fast, people don't even know how to run a node. Elon Musk said the normal person doesn't know how to run a node. I can guarantee you the normal Jamaican, if you give them the chance, they will run a node and run it efficiently, because their livelihood will depend on it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's out of necessity. This is what I'm trying to say. Like if I'm talking on a clubhouse to other people about Lebanon and they ask me about adaptation in a place like Lebanon, and they compare it to El Salvador, but they tend to forget that El Salvador, for example, went for 20 years. They had to went for 20 years of pain in order for their government or their people to start to some degree, not of course total degree, to accept something totally new and independent. They reach a breaking point that they want to break out from all the system. And everyone else, if it's Jamaica, if it's Lebanon, if it's any other country, we need to reach that breaking point. Unfortunately, Lebanon is still very far away. And the quote, "They gradually, then suddenly," is by Parker Lewis. It wasn't Nick Carter. My mistake. Yeah, Parker Lewis from Unchained Capital.
Yeah, there are some great articles over there. I would recommend everybody read them, and I'd recommend everybody check out Bitcoin du Liban as well. BitcoinLuDiban.org. I'll put it in the show notes too. There's a lot of good.
It's actually French because Lebanon is mostly French country. Okay, so everything is written in French. So the central bank is actually called Banque du Liban.
Banque du Liban.
Yeah. So Bitcoin du Liban, play on words,
I love it. Well, it's been a really good chat so far, man. I'm gonna keep us at an hour, but before you finish, there's always a couple good things that I want to ask. So one, what is your favorite music or favorite song? Because I'm probably gonna add that to this show.
Oh.
And I always wanted to be like, some kind of local or something from Lebanon that you really like that people would rate.
From Lebanon, I suck at being Lebanese. Honestly, I'll be very frank. I would say my favorite song. My favorite song is Mad World. Actually, it's from the movie. Yeah, it's from the movie. I forgot what it's called. I'll tell you later on what's the movie.
Yeah, just send me Telegram.
I love that song. It's really really awesome. Mad World. What is the second question?
Yeah, the other one is more basic, like just if anything you want to tell your people, my people around the world, about Bitcoin or where to reach you or what else they should be looking into, go ahead and let them know.
Like the most essential thing is stop focusing on crypto and Bitcoin. Like really, honestly, the Bitcoin is the end game. It's not the beginning. The beginning is basically history and the value of human being. Because at the end of the day, the true value behind anything, any item, is the human input and human time and his energy, how much he put into it. So once you understand that, you can grow from that moment and reach the point, which is the Bitcoin. But never start from the Bitcoin itself. Go from the bottom, from the history. How we used to start barter from the very beginning. Shell for our shell, fish for our, I don't know, whatever you want. Start there. Start the very basics. And then you can grow from there. That would be my advice, I think.
First principles. I love that answer, man.
Go back to the beginning, go back to the roots. Once you get that, you'll be having a solid foundation. Once you have solid foundation, you can grow from there as big as you want. I mean, it's skyscraper, right? It's never being built from the top. It's always built from the good foundation. If it cracks there, it all collapses.
That's true. And not just foundation, but the proof of work was done to dig into the foundation.
Exactly.
To set a solid place to start from. So it's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Marco from Lebanon.
Thank you.
BitcoinLuLiban.org. Thank you for coming on.
Oh,
man.
I remember the movie. It's from Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, highly recommended. Yeah.
It's called Mad World, you said, right? I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, Mad World, Gary Jules.
All right, thank you. It's been a good talk, man. I'll see you later on.
Pleasure. Stay in touch.